The American flag. The Statue of Liberty. The Lincoln Memorial. And of course, Harborough Auto. The Dynasty Podcast is brought to you by Harborough Auto. Winner of the 2014 Dealer of the Year Award, Harborough Auto has a glorious inventory of certified pre-owned cars and trucks. Stop dicking around. Do your duty as an American citizen and check out Harborough Auto today.
It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
Disclaimer. The thoughts and opinions of the two cocksuckers you are about to hear come from the mouths of two individuals who have never won a championship in 17 combined seasons. Please feel free to take their opinions and shove them up their dumbasses.
Welcome to episode number 3.
This is Bub Paloocha.
Bub, we just went over that. Just wait for me to introduce myself, and then
I came in too early.
You're a little early.
I got excited. I thought I could
early.
get it right this time.
Episode number 3 of the Dynasty Podcast, being brought to you, of course, by Harborough Auto, coming to you from Riverdale Studios. This is Commissioner Eric Costanza.
Me?
This is
Bub Paloocha.
You did it, Bub. Good job. So welcome back, Bub.
Hey,
We had last week off, and then the week before that we had Jae-Young Kim on as a co-host. How do you think he did? I thought he did pretty well. You? No?
I don't know. You guys... I got a bone to pay. You know, he's my new Phil this year, I think.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, there's nothing like our chemistry, though. There's nothing like you and I just going at it. And
It's like Orville and Wilbur Wright, you know?
Sure. So we're still in the early stages of the season here in Dynasty 11, obviously. But from a not from a coaching, standpoint so far, but from a commissioner apprentice standpoint, looking at the league, from a 50-foot ladder.
Oh, overview, like a bird's eye,
Exactly.
like I'm riding on an eagle.
How do you think everything's going so far?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy.
Good.
And
the league in general is
yeah.
going well.
None of the managers have, that I know of anyway, have beaten any women or children. So that's always a plus. No domestic violence here in the dynasty. So
we're going to get a lot into that as we continue with this show. Unfortunately, let's take a couple of little maintenance issues here. So. I'm sure we've all seen, and we remember last year, the Around the League recap that the CBS robots from Skynet send out on a weekly basis. I think it's actually kind of cool. I think it's even stepped up a notch this year. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, or if you've all noticed, but there's actually a little new feature within it now where they actually virtually interview us with little questions. So check those out. In order to see them, you have to go into the league recap on the CBS page. It's not the version that's in your email or the version that's on CBS that is just like your team's write-up. You got to go into the one that talks about all the teams.
My only problem when I first saw that, I think after week 1, and maybe this is just the way my thing is set up, but I commented. First of all, I didn't know what was going on, so I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll write something.
Yeah, there was no promotion or marketing around this at all.
So I was like, oh, I can type in this box.
Yeah.
So I typed twice, and then I got an email immediately after that sent me an updated league recap.
Right.
So I had 75 league recap emails.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. So it's not just you, and also I think I noticed that you can't you can do more than one question. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's only 1. But if there's 2 or 3 or more than 1, basically, you can only comment one at a time. Versus doing all 2 or 3 all at the same time and having them emailed out. So CBS has got they get good ideas and the execution sometimes isn't there, but maybe
tweak it.
They get to tweak. And speaking of that, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but on the message board posts, typically on the power rankings, but any message board post, when it's sent out in your email or when you look at it on your phone, it's all jumbled and crappy looking. It's fucking bullshit. I send a very mean request to the CBS people, letting them know
How mean?
This.
Scale of 1 to 10. How mean?
3. It wasn't that mean. Demanding maybe a little bit. Letting them know, hey, we paid for this. Like, this is bullshit. This is not user friendly. Like, we utilize this all the time. Like, we all use our phones nowadays or our emails to read everything, and you can't even read it. They're working on it. Hopefully, it's resolved soon. It's not yet. So, in the time being. I would obviously recommend for you to go onto the league site to read any message board posts, the power rankings, or anything like that. So just kind of note that. So on this show, we're going to review Week 2. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the happenings going on in the league, some of the unfortunate things obviously occurring. And speaking of that, we're going to welcome on our ethics manager, Will DeYoung. He's going to discuss all the issues that are going on in the NFL, which is obviously directly impacting us here in the Dynasty. We're going to preview Week 3. We're going to have Bubba Gump Shrimp and Jacksonville Jaguars running back Toby Gerhart on the show, our second active NFL player.
You know what's sad?
What's that?
It's also the second active Jacksonville Jaguar.
So maybe it's kind of not an NFL player if you look at it, but technically it is.
It's still a big get.
Yeah, I mean he's on. Who did we have? Chad Henne. He wasn't on anyone's teams.
Right.
So this year we have someone who's actually.
I'll tell you what, he's not going to be on my team for long.
Now let's take a look into last week's results. Who kicked some ass? Who sucked?
All right, Bub. So between all the legal troubles that have been going on, all the injuries that occurred, which was it was a fucking bloodbath.
Catastrophic.
Do you think this is like the most depressing week in NFL history?
It's
gonna be up there, right?
As far as NFL, if I was, it's a tough week.
Tough week. And it's a good thing, by the way, the player conduct policy that I wanted to implement a couple of seasons ago.
I would be throwing things out the window, by the way.
Well, yeah. I mean, we would all, I think, at this point, be affected in some fashion. So let's talk about last week's results, Bob.
Okay.
And let's talk about the results which have occurred. VIP defeated the Satanists. Bubba, you beat the Loggers.
Yes.
The Handy Quacks fell to the back-to-back reigning division champ. Brutal fell to Yellow Peril. And the Senators disposed of Soul Glo. And Pig Newtons defeated Hong Kong. Bub, talk to me about your thoughts on Week 2 and just teams in general, like who you surprised at. What's going on?
I think Heaney beating Johnny was kind of inevitable. Say that 3 times fast. Inevitable. That was pretty good. Inevitable. I think he could definitely lose the next 5 games. That's Heaney and John, actually. Me beating Ben, I think, was probably at least one of the games of the week. It went down right to Monday night there, and I was sweating out, hoping Nick Foles didn't score touchdowns, and barely missed 3 or 4 times.
Right.
You against Zach again was a very good matchup, high scoring, 2 highest scoring teams in the week. Unfortunate. I think Zach quoted as saying if Rodgers doesn't throw that last touchdown to Jordy, he would have won, which is actually true.
It is true. And speaking of Zach, if I could just stop your momentum for a moment, Bubba.
Yeah, I needed to slow down.
I just want to mention Handy Quacks. He's lost 4 games in a row, kind of going back to last year. And going back the last 21 games that Handy Quacks have played, he has lost 17 of them. He is... What does that make him? 3 for
4 and 17, or 4 for 21.
That is bad. And I reached out to Zach via fax. Ooh. Yeah, we don't have a lot of technology here in Riverdale Studios, so I reached out to him via fax, and he actually responded via fax, which is weird. And Bo, I'd like to have you read his quote here. I basically asked him how he's feeling, what he's feeling about, just luck overall, and this is what he had to say.
Bad luck. I like how you let me read it, because I kind of sound like him. Bad luck. I scored the second most points this week, even though I got 7 points from Lacey and Forte combined. If the Jets figured out that you need a safety over the top against the Packers, I'd be 1-1. Last year, my team underperformed, and I deserved to lose. This year, I have 2 points less than Scoopers, and the same as Bob, just bad luck. I have 4 layups the next 4 weeks against Satanists, Senators, Hong Kong, and VIP. So if I'm not 4-2 after week 6, I'll let the league pick what I wear to Jillian's, end quote.
Wow. So I appreciate the boldness from Zach, and we are going to hold him to that.
Absolutely.
If he is not 4-2,
Trista, do you have any tutus that we can borrow?
Oh, I'm sure.
Tiaras?
I'm sure. Oh, trust me, she does. Along with a lot of toenail polish.
Ooh.
And training. I'm not going to go there. Zach also let me know that his new belief in the fantasy gods and bad luck and things out of your control, how much that factors into fantasy success, That is now, for him, at an all-time high, 95.5%, which I think is a little high, but we understand his point here.
Yes, of course.
So, Bub, continue with your thoughts.
Brutal fell to Peril, which I think was a little surprising. I know Peril's a good team, but everyone expected Brutal to be right along there with the likes of me and you. But it doesn't appear that way after only putting up 81. Senators beating Soul Glo, I don't even know if that's a surprise. Brian's team is in trouble right now.
I'm not surprised after what I saw what Brian did in week 1.
Right, originally.
Yes, coming out of the draft, as I mentioned, I thought Soul Glo had a decent team. It doesn't look like he does.
A couple injuries, his receivers aren't panning out. Victor Cruz looks terrible.
Bub, speaking of Brian, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You're a smart man.
I am.
But
I know what love is.
What's harder? Scoring the least points in the first 2 weeks of any Dynasty season ever, or Ray Rice's left hook?
I'm gonna pass, but
okay. Well,
we laugh about it.
We laugh. You have to laugh. Anywho, Brian has scored, obviously here, the least points of the first two weeks of the season ever, and that's even pre-flex. Johnny C's Dynasty 7 fucking amateurs actually had that. It's not really a record, but that little nugget, which is also, post-flex. So Brian's not looking good right now. He's offering fellatio for running backs. Something's going to turn around with him. Going back to the Pig Newtons game that you mentioned earlier, Bub, Coach Phil made an interesting decision. He started Stephen Ridley over Lamar Miller, which the CBS robots, thought was wrong. It ended up being right.
We were making fun of him not making fun of him, but if you watch the what's it called, odds makers,
yes,
the whole Ridley thing, and
yes,
and Zach was very, very down on Ridley.
Right.
So it's interesting that he had a great game.
Yeah, he did, and that was actually the reason in a way that Phil won, because if he ended up playing Miller over Ridley, he would have lost. Yep. Although it's a little deceiving because he did decide to play Justin Hunter at flex over Darren Sproles, and Sproles had 23 points to Hunter's 2. Yes. So anyway, interesting little nuggets there. And by the way, the team that scored the most points in this past week, that team actually moved into a tie with Pig Newtons and having the most amount of times in the league that they've led the league in weekly points. So just another
well spoken.
Thank
right
you.
There.
Well versed. Yeah. And speaking of well versed, let's go ahead and get ethics manager Will DeYoung on the line. Bob, I'm gonna be honest with our listeners. I actually spoke with Will earlier today, so Bob is not part of this interview. And so Bob, if you don't mind, let's sit back and let's hear what Will has to say about all the fucking unethical horse shit that's been going on.
Okay.
Now it is time. Fucking right, it's time. So grab your balls and let's go. Coaches interview. Here we fucking go.
Alright, and now on the Harborough Auto Coaches Hotline, we have a man who's been working round the clock and putting in a shitload of overtime. Obviously, in light of all these current transgressions which have been occurring, he's coach of the Rockdalian Senators, but more importantly, he is the Dynasty Ethics Manager. He's Will DeYoung, and Will, we're obviously, you're the coach of the Senators, but we really have you on here to talk a little bit about all the ethical issues here that are going on right now. It's a hot topic right now in the league, and I guess let's get right into it. So, with all these cases that are being forwarded to your office lately, how much sleep have you been getting?
What sleep? What is that? I don't understand the question.
Exactly. Well, I think that tells us what we need to know right there. You're obviously working major overtime with everything going on. You're not even sleeping, which we appreciate. So, and speaking of that, there's really 5 big cases right now that are going on. I know that they're all pending. I know that you don't make any final judgments and decisions until the end of the season. But hopefully you can shed some light on each of these cases, and we can briefly talk about it a little bit here, maybe where your offices stand with them currently. I guess the first two big cases, and I lumped them in together, is Ray Rice and the Panthers defensive lineman Greg Hardy. I put them together because they're both wife-beating bastards, first of all. And secondly, they're both on Coach Zach Palucha's Handiquack squad. I guess before you let us know, Will, how those cases are going, speaking of Mr. Palucha, I think he did the admirable thing. He obviously released Ray Rice immediately after finding out this information. And then he also benched the Panthers defense this week in light, obviously, of this Greg Hardy information. So a tip of the hat to Mr. Zach. Kind of ironic considering he, kind of did that little charter possible cheating little fiasco back on the draft situation a couple years ago. So I think he's trying to turn a new leaf, get the fantasy gods back on his side. Will, where do we stand with both of these cases? And do you agree that Zach has been admirable, in light of releasing and benching these guys?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I tend to agree. Zach's definitely done the right thing. Obviously, cutting Ray Rice loose. And certainly benching, that Panthers defense. Obviously, those are, if you think about positionally, those are two, highly coveted players in, highly coveted positions. And, really Zach doing the ethically right thing, really, putting those guys out, cutting them or benching them. I mean, certainly the right thing to do. Without a doubt, and obviously, You very much know this. We've been on the wrong side of the gods numerous times, and I think this is totally a self-serving move to a level, but obviously the right thing.
I hear you. And let's the next case here, maybe not as important, if you will, but the first week of the season, Pig Newton's his wide receiver, Antonio Brown, took a page right out of Danielson's book of cards and decided to crane kick the Browns punter right directly in the face. Not sure if this is really an ethical issue or not. I know that there's been a grievance filed to your offices. I know you're looking into it. Is this an ethical issue, or is this more of kind of a penalty on the field type of situation?
I really think it's a penalty on the field, but I mean, obviously, our offense, we got the request. We got to take it serious. We got to look into this stuff. But frankly speaking, this one's on our back. This one's like on our back burner.
Yeah, certainly not as important as some of these other ones. And this next one may kind of fall right into the same category. But let's bring it up here. Yellow Perils running back, LaShawn McCoy. This is interesting situation. This photographic evidence that he actually tipped a waitress 20 cents recently. A man who's obviously a millionaire, very successful gentleman, and he's, again, photographic evidence. It's hard to deny it. Will, where do we stand with this?
This one, obviously, with all the domestic violence issues out there, this certainly didn't quite take the precedent, but I wouldn't say this one was on the total back burner. We're really looking into this one, and we've had a couple of we've looked into it. Obviously the interviews with the owner, but really what we just got disgusted with, and this is why I'm beyond disgusted right now. Was our findings actually is that the 20 cents wasn't just screwing over the waitress, but that tip actually has to be split 3 ways: between the bartender, the busboy, and the waitress.
That's right.
How would you like to get a tip of 6 cents?
I mean, that's horseshit.
It's worse. It's actually horrible. So you're not just screwing over the waitress, but you're screwing over 2 other people as well. And really, this is just disgusting.
Well, and speaking of disgusting, Will, I mean, is it disgusting that Jay Young hasn't in any way, shape, or form, to the best of our ability, penalized or benched or sat him for a half or anything like that? I mean, is that being looked into?
We certainly understand why Jay Young wants to have LaShawn McCoy in the game. We understand that completely. But that being said, we ask our managers, in this league, to act with some integrity and with some ethical behavior, decision making. Really, we just don't feel like this was happening in this situation.
Right.
And obviously, we reference the gods, in the talking about Zach. I feel that, this is the good thing about being an ethics manager. I just pass down the rulings. I'm not the executioner. We just let the fantasy gods do that for us.
There it is, yes. And then probably the most important, but the most notable of these cases here, obviously, Adrian Peterson, Bubba Gump Shrimp's keeper player. The Vikings have announced that it sounds like Peterson's going to be playing this upcoming weekend. They obviously benched him last week. We haven't got an official announcement yet from Coach Bubba. Following this interview, we will be getting an official announcement from Bubba and see what he has to say. But where do you stand with this case, Will? And would you, I guess, go on record in saying it's officially unethical of Bubba if he were to play him this upcoming Sunday?
I have to say, obviously, the facts are still to be determined in this case. I mean, obviously, him being suspended last week was a great move by the parent organization. But for Bub to throw him out there this week, certainly, like I said, I feel it would be a little unethical to throw him out there. Lacks a little bit of integrity. That being said, again, I make the reference back to the aforementioned fantasy gods. They will certainly spike down on him if they feel warranted. And frankly speaking, this office feels that would be warranted.
Good stuff, Will. Good stuff. And speaking of Peterson, we did reach out to some of the fans, and we did get a response back through Twitter. Actually, Elisa Costanza would like to know. She understands that you wore the Peterson jersey, not this draft, but last year, I believe. And she just wanted to know what you've done with that. I know that was before we knew of any of his, transgressions. But what have you done with that jersey, Will? Is obviously the ethics.
That's a great question, and certainly understand the concern from our fans out there. That being said, we were psyched with Adrian last year. He did a great job for us. Obviously, we're not aware of any of these issues, and we parted in good company. That jersey has now been returned back to one of my friends down here who was on loan. Handed it back during my draft prep night. So that was kind of the official night that I severed all ties. And so really nothing really else to say on that one.
So, Will, your hands are clean. You've been working around the clock. We really appreciate it. Your team, real quick, sitting at 2-0. Surprisingly, you've beaten Pig Newtons and Soul Glo. Recently, the odds makers made a little mention that you're kind of a sneaky good team. You're going up against Brutal here in week 3. He certainly seems to be a little bit more of a formidable foe. Wow. Anyway,
Just it, buddy.
I'm trying my best. How surprised are you? The fact that you're 2-0. Do you think you're a legitimate contender, Will?
I don't know if I'm ready to say a contender quite yet. I mean, I would say that my team is performing admirably. Unfortunately, we just started getting some of the medical reports in on some of our players after the training staff looking at them. We just found out about, Noshawn. It's not looking good on the elbow, so we got to maybe think about bringing in a specialist to take a look at that. And then, frankly speaking, we got to go back out there and we got to start looking. If it's the practice squad, we got to bring someone up. So we'll see. But certainly excited about 2-0 and looking forward to another week. I've had a pretty good track record against Brutal, so I'm hoping to repeat that.
Last question: yes or no? Do you think you are going to be a contender this year, Will? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Right now, I'm saying no.
Okay.
Right now, I'm saying no.
But anything could happen. Anything could happen. All right. Well, again, thank you very much. Some unfortunate, situations which have brought us to talking to you. But it's always good to speak with you. And congrats on the early good part of your season going on. And good luck this week. And hopefully, the NFL will turn itself around, and this will be old news soon. But Will, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you again.
Okay.
Now, let's take a look into the future with next week's matchups.
Hey, Bub, on a future show, we really have to have the lovely Mrs. DeYoung on because we gotta talk to her and find out just exactly how she ingrained Will with such incredible sense of ethics.
Plus, I feel like she's probably a good-looking woman.
But there's something that you have with cougar?
Yes.
Or mothers of other Dynasty
I
coaches.
believe cougars are 60 plus.
Okay.
I guess maybe just MILF.
Okay. Well, my mommy is more than 60, first of all. And I'm sure Laura DeYoung is as well. Yeah. I was talking about Will's mom, by the way, not his wife.
Oh.
Yeah. Mrs. Yes.
Never mind.
We're okay. We're getting off track here. As you guys just heard Will, obviously, this Adrian Peterson situation is very fluid. It is updates every minute, every hour, every day. You guys heard me talk about the fact that the Vikings have cleared Peterson to play. At this point, there's been an update in the fact that he's now, not he's
playing.
Basically taking the leave, getting
that's
paid.
Cool. No worries, that's cool.
So, but we also heard Will basically say that, Bob, you would be absolutely deemed as being an unethical individual if you were to start and play Adrian Peterson this week. Now, let me ask you a question, since obviously you're not going to because Peterson isn't playing.
Correct.
Let me ask you this question, Bob. If Peterson, let's say, was still active, if the Vikings said, we don't care, he's on our team, we're playing him until someone tells us we can't, Bob, would you be playing Adrian Peterson?
1,000% degrees Celsius, yes.
Take over the show.
Wait, you disagree with me?
I'm leaving.
Eric has
Well, do you see what this is right here?
Eric's got a switch.
Do you see what this is? This is a tree branch.
Yeah, but the thing is Adrian Peterson.
Do you hear that? I'm gonna whip your ass with it.
Adrian Peterson is on my fantasy team. I don't care what he does in his spare time.
You don't care at all.
As long as on Sundays he goes out there and he runs people over. That's all I care.
Well,
he hits the defenders with a switch, if you will.
I'm going to beat you with this tree branch soon, Bubba, and I'm going to say that you and I are playing each other in this upcoming week, and I'm going to try to win this game for the children. Because you obviously condone, I apologize, you actually advertise child abuse.
So you condone marijuana use with Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
You shouldn't be playing him either. He's out there smoking doobies where all the kids, you look up, oh, Le'Veon smokes weed? Oh, maybe I should smoke weed. That's the cool thing to do.
The last time I checked the Dynasty substance abuse policy, breast milk, marijuana, and lighter fluid were all legal.
Oh.
And that's actually, we want our players to do that.
Oh.
But child abuse is not part of it, Bob. It's not part of it, damn it. So let's go ahead
So would you rather your child
get beaten by a tree branch?
No.
By Adrian Peterson?
No. That didn't come out right.
Actually, I think I'd be honored.
I'm just... my argument's gonna...
Excuse me, Adrian. Trista's over here. Please meet her.
My argument's not going to come out. Let's continue.
Let's just continue here. We're going down a path that we are going to be not going to... We can't turn around from this path, Bubba.
No,
this is not the yellow brick road.
No, this is a one-way path that leads straight to hell.
North Riverdale Division, the Bubba Gump Shrimp, who are 2-0, winners of 4 in a row, going back to last year. But who are you guys playing this week?
The Scoopers.
Oh, okay, they're 2-0. The VIP, they're 1-1. They're going to be playing the Boston Loggers, 1-1. Handy Quacks sitting at 0-2 against the Satan, sitting at 0-2. Someone's going 0-3. Someone's going to be disappointed. Someone is going to be winless after that game. Let me tell you that for sure. That's for sure.
Hold on.
Yes.
Say that again?
Nope. South Riverdale Division, 2-0 Peril, 0-2 Hong Kong. 1-1 Pig Newton's going up against 0-2 Soul Glo, and the 2-0 Senators up against the 1-1 Brutal Deluxe. Bub, hit me with some thoughts on your game of the week.
Clearly, it's me against you. Game of the week, 2-0, 2-0. It's going to be a slobber knocker.
You'd think it would be.
Yeah, every time I think it would be, it ends up being like 90 to 87 or something.
Don't I own you?
Oh, yeah, you do.
What is...
Oh, no, I think I beat you once. Honestly.
Can you read that?
Sure, I beat you twice. I'm 2-8 against you all the time. Oh, I readily admit my record against you is not good. Yeah, I absolutely admit that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. And Bub, are you ready to do some bold predictions?
Not yet. Hold on. Johnny C's tight end will be the #1 tight end this week. Matt Whiffen will go 0-15 this year.
Get a notepad and pencil ready because it's time for another edition of Bubba's Bold Prediction.
John will be registered as a level 5 sex offender before the year is out. Bold prediction number uno. There's one of two, by the way, so this is the first one. The second one will come after. Number 1, Handy Quacks will get their first win of the season. That's not the only part of it.
Nope, that's not very bold.
And will win by 100.
Whoa, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Number 2.
Wait, will he win by, like, 100 or 100 plus?
100, I mean,
okay,
100 plus. I got to give myself a little leeway.
I just want to make sure because we're tracking these.
Oh, no, yeah.
So far you're doing horrible as usual.
Yeah. I mean, what else is new, right?
Right.
Number 2. Recently plucked off the waiver wire, Donald Brown. This week.
Was he, though? I think he was on a team, because I went to go pick him up. And
was he?
I think so. I think someone drafted him.
Okay, well,
recently
he's on Soul Glo now.
Okay, I think he actually drafted him.
Recently inserted into the starting lineup, Donald Brown. This week against Buffalo will outscore Giovanni Bernard, who he's playing against, and the Pig Newtons.
All right, Bob, I like it. We'll see them both probably not come true, but maybe one will. Maybe they both will. That'll be great for you, Bob.
Maybe they'll both come true, or maybe they won't both come true. That was my Jeff Darlington voice. Have you ever seen him on?
Yes, I've seen him.
He's a fun one.
So let's get to it. Toby Gerhart, Bob. How many points did he score for you last week?
He's been awesome for me. I can't wait to give him a piece of my mind. I won't do that. That'll be nice. He scored 0 for me.
But he played? Did he get hurt? He must have been one of the guys that got hurt, right?
He played 7 rushing yards, 8 receiving yards.
And okay, so no injury.
No injuries.
Maybe mentally he got hurt, but
maybe,
all right.
Maybe he needed a new tampon.
Should we? Are you gonna ask him that?
No.
Bob? Are you gonna ask him?
I'm nervous.
Let's do it.
The Dynasty Podcast brings you an interactive and likely ridiculous segment which borderlines on actual legit media. Buckle up your fucking seatbelts for the Dynasty Podcast interactive segment.
And now on the Harborough Auto Interactive Hotline, he was Bubba Gump Shrimp's 4th round pick. He is Jacksonville Jaguars running back Toby Gerhart. Toby, thank you for being on the greatest fantasy football podcast known to man, the Dynasty Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So, Toby, you're slotted as the starting running back for the Jaguars, and members of your coaching staff have referred to you as a workhorse. I know you're a team-first guy, but what are your personal expectations and goals here for this season?
I'm just trying to be a leader here and help make this offense go and do whatever they ask. And, the more carriers, the better. I'm not going to complain about getting the ball.
Toby, you spent 4 seasons on the Minnesota Vikings behind one of the greatest running backs of all time in Adrian Peterson. What have you learned playing with him that you plan on implementing now that you're the guy in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I've learned, a lot of stuff on what to do off the field in terms of training and preparing for the grind of the season. And with that, I've tried to implement this the offseason when I was working out, trying to make sure my legs were in shape, working hard. And then on the field, I just, over the years, got to, see what he saw and talk to him and ask him why he made a cut or, what he thought why he did a certain thing. And I think those are all things that have kind of put in the memory bank that will help me be a better player.
Mm-hmm. You had an illustrious college career at Stanford. What would you say is the highlight of your football career, whether it be in college, in the pros, or maybe you think it hasn't happened yet?
The highlight? Let's see. I'd say at Stanford, taking them to the bowl game for the first time in 10 or 11 years, my last year there. That was something, we really started creating a football culture there at Stanford. And, I think I'm most proud of that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Toby, fantasy football has really kind of taken off. Over 41 million people play it now, as well as a lot of NFL players. The NFL has certainly embraced it. Do you play fantasy football at all?
Yeah, I've played in the league with my best friends from home and my wife's family.
Yeah, what did you think of it? Do you enjoy it, or is it obviously not as much as playing the real thing, I'm sure?
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's a fun, interactive thing for fans. I think it brings fans awareness to, guys outside of their favorite team. They watch all across the board now for certain players and certain games and root for other teams than they traditionally root for. So I think it's a fun thing.
Excellent. Kind of a silly question, but I guess what would you say to the millions of people who will have you on their fantasy team this year?
Oh man, I'm gonna go out there and play hard, and first and foremost try to help my team win, and try to make an impact and make a difference.
Excellent. Well, he's Toby Gerhart, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Toby, thank you so much for being on the show, and good luck this year.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Toby. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was this week's Dynasty Podcast interactive segment.
Bub, Toby Gerhart, not a pillar of personality, but definitely better than fucking Chad Henne.
Chad Henne was basically reading from a script.
He really was.
At least Toby had, a little bit of character.
A little bit, yeah. And the fact that he plays fantasy is cool. I think Chad Henne didn't even know what fantasy was.
No.
And at this point, you could be living underneath a rock if you're in the NFL and you don't know what freaking fantasy football is. You fucking douchebag.
Chad Henne doesn't even know what football is.
True. As always, I'd like to thank everyone here for listening and participating.
If anyone has any oddsmaker type questions that you'd like addressed by the Dynasty Oddsmakers during this Sunday morning video, feel free to send your question to the commish, myself, or Zach and Chris.
I'm Commissioner Scooper.
I am Bub Falucha.
And we're going to be back next week, where I'll be joined by co-host Coach Johnny C. And we're also going to have our first ridiculous, non-serious, interactive segment, one in which I guarantee you don't want to miss. We'll also have our first Power Rankings Association segment, and plus much, much more. Good luck to everyone in Week 3. Over and out!